October 10, 2013. At 9:47 p.m., Samantha Ridgway, a 21-year-old communications major at Westview University in Ashton, Illinois, texted her roommate, "Heading back now. Phone's dying. Be there in 15." She never arrived. Rain drummed against the windows of Westview University's Film Studies building as students hurried to pack up their belongings. The October chill had descended early this year, bringing with it the kind of damp cold that seeps into bones. Samantha Ridgway zipped her yellow raincoat and slung her laptop bag over her shoulder, its weight familiar and comforting. The film club meeting had run later than expected, a heated debate about Hitchcock's use of suspense keeping them all engaged well past the scheduled end time. "You sure you don't want a ride?" asked Julian, the club president, keys jingling in his hand. "It's coming down pretty hard out there." Samantha smiled, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "I'll be fine. I'm stopping at Brood Awakening first. Need the caffeine for this paper due tomorrow. Suit yourself. Text when you get home, okay?" Julian's concern was casual but genuine. Campus safety emails had been circulating after reports of a strange man lurking near the library last week. "Yes, Dad," Samantha teased, pulling her hood up as she stepped out into the rain. The local coffee shop was only a 5-minute walk from the Film Studies building. Inside, the warm lighting and scent of espresso created a haven from the dreary weather. Samantha ordered her usual, a double-shot Americano, and settled into a corner table, opening her laptop to review her notes from the meeting. The barista, Ellie, brought over her coffee. "Working late again, Sam?" "Always," Samantha replied with a tired smile. "Communications major, film minor. Sleep is for the weak." "You're hardcore," Ellie laughed. "Just don't burn yourself out before finals." As Samantha worked, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Twice, she glanced up to scan the cafe, but nothing seemed out of place. Just the usual evening crowd, students hunched over laptops, a couple in the corner speaking in hushed tones, and a middle-aged man reading a newspaper. Normal. Yet something felt off. At 9:35 p.m., Samantha's phone buzzed with a text from her roommate, Kayla. "Where are you? Thought you'd be back by now." Samantha quickly typed back, "Still at Brood. Finishing up. Back soon." She took a final sip of her now-cold coffee and began packing up. Her phone battery indicator flashed red, just 5% left. She'd forgotten her charger again. As she stood to leave, her gaze caught on the man with the newspaper, who seemed to be watching her over the top of the pages. When their eyes met, he quickly looked away. A chill ran through her that had nothing to do with the rain. She'd seen him before, in the library, in the dining hall. Coincidence? Maybe. But she couldn't shake the unease that settled over her. Security footage would later show Samantha leaving the cafe alone at 9:42 p.m., her yellow raincoat bright against the night. The cameras captured her glancing back twice toward the entrance before setting off in the direction of her dorm. Her usual route took her along the main campus walkway, well-lit and typically busy with students. But the rain had driven most people indoors, leaving the path eerily empty. The walk to her dorm usually took about 12 minutes. At 9:47 p.m., as she passed the darkened humanities building, Samantha sent her final text to Kayla, "Heading back now. Phone's dying. Be there in 15." She tucked her phone into her pocket and quickened her pace. The rain was coming down harder now, reducing visibility. Campus security cameras caught fragmented glimpses of her yellow raincoat passing the library, then the science building. At 9:51 p.m., she paused at a crosswalk, jumping slightly at the sound of footsteps behind her. When she turned, no one was there. The security camera at this intersection was out of order, maintenance had been scheduled to fix it the following week. This was the last confirmed sighting of Samantha Ridgway. When midnight came and went with no sign of Samantha, Kayla grew concerned. She called Samantha's phone repeatedly, but each call went straight to voicemail. She texted their mutual friends, but no one had seen her. Kayla convinced herself that Samantha had decided to pull an all-nighter at the 24-hour study lounge in the library, something she'd done before when deadlines loomed. But when morning came and Samantha's bed remained untouched, panic set in. "I'm telling you, she wouldn't just not come home," Kayla insisted to the campus security officer who took her report at 8:15 a.m. "She texted me that she was on her way back. She's never late. Never." Officer Dennis Whalen, a veteran of the campus security team, nodded as he took notes. "And you said her phone's going straight to voicemail?" "Yes. I've called like 20 times." Kayla's voice cracked. "Something's wrong. I know it." By 10 a.m., campus security had contacted the Ashton Police Department. Detective Mira Chen arrived on campus by 11, her steel-gray eyes taking in the scene with practiced efficiency. "Tell me about Samantha," she said to Kayla, who sat wrapped in a blanket in the dorm's common area, eyes red from crying. "She's super organized. Like, obsessively so. She uses this planner app that schedules everything down to the minute." Kayla pulled out her own phone, showing Detective Chen their shared calendar. "See? Film club until 9, then coffee shop until 9:45, then back to the dorm. She never deviates." Detective Chen nodded, making notes. "Any boyfriends? Exes I should know about?" "No boyfriend right now. She broke up with her high school boyfriend when she came to college. They're still friends, I think, but he goes to school in California." Kayla twisted the edge of the blanket between her fingers. "There was this guy, though. He works in the media lab. Todd something. He's older. I think he's been hitting on her." "How did she feel about that?" "She thought it was weird. Said he was always offering to help with her projects, even when she didn't ask. And he'd, like, remember things she'd said weeks ago. Specific things." Kayla shuddered. It creeped her out. At noon, as word spread across campus, panic began to ripple through the student body. Samantha was well-liked, involved in multiple campus organizations, and known for her reliability. The idea that she would simply vanish seemed impossible to those who knew her. Campus security began a methodical search of the university grounds, focusing on the route Samantha would have taken from the coffee shop to her dorm. Detective Chen coordinated with the local police department to expand the search perimeter. At 1:15 p.m., a janitor named Ray Hernandez made a discovery that changed the course of the investigation. While emptying trash bins behind the university's old theater building, a route that deviated from Samantha's usual path, he spotted something yellow poking out from behind a dumpster. "I thought it was trash at first," Ray told Detective Chen. "But it looked too nice, you know. So I checked it out. It was Samantha's laptop bag, its weatherproof nylon still beaded with raindrops. Inside, they found her laptop, wallet with ID and bank cards intact, and a notebook filled with meticulous class notes. Her phone was nowhere to be found. The location of the bag raised immediate questions. The old theater building stood on the northeastern edge of campus, in the opposite direction from Samantha's dorm. It was a detour that made no sense on a rainy night when she was in a hurry to get home. Could she have been meeting someone? Detective Chen asked Kayla when she was shown the bag. Kayla shook her head emphatically. "No way. Not without telling me. And why would she go to the old theater? It's creepy there at night." As the day wore on, Detective Chen coordinated with the university's IT department to trace Samantha's digital footprint from the previous evening. The results painted a concerning picture. Her last connection to the university Wi-Fi was at 9:48 p.m., ping location, somewhere between the cafe and the main campus quad. Her phone's signal pinged off a cell tower northeast of campus at 9:52 p.m., which aligned with the old theater building area. The last app she had opened was Google Maps, set to walking directions from the cafe to her dorm. Most disturbing was a search made at 9:49 p.m., can someone track me through Wi-Fi? This last piece of information sent a chill through Detective Chen. It suggested Samantha had felt she was being monitored, possibly followed. We need to check security footage from every building along her route, Chen told her partner, Detective Marcus Rodriguez. And I want to know more about this Todd person from the media lab. The security footage yielded little. The cameras caught Samantha leaving the cafe, walking along the main path, and then, nothing. The gap in coverage between the science building and the residential area was significant, especially on a dark, rainy night. 3 days into the investigation, an anonymous tip came in through the university's safety hotline. A digitally altered voice claimed, "The girl in the yellow coat. I saw her being followed. Guy in a gray hoodie. Been watching her for weeks. Always lurking. Check the media lab." Detective Chen and Rodriguez immediately focused their attention on Todd Warner, the 29-year-old adjunct technical assistant who worked in the campus media lab. His position gave him access to the university's network infrastructure, including router logs and Wi-Fi access points. "Mr. Warner," Detective Chen began in the sterile interview room at the police station. "How well did you know Samantha Ridgway?" Todd Warner was tall and lanky, with the kind of pallor that suggested more time spent under fluorescent lights than sunshine. He adjusted his glasses nervously. "I didn't really know her. She used the lab sometimes for her film projects. I helped her a few times with the editing software. Several students have suggested you took a special interest in Ms. Ridgway." Warner's face flushed. "That's not true. I'm professional with all students." "Where were you on the night of October 10th between 9 and 11 p.m.? "At home. Alone." Warner's voice grew defensive. "Look, I had nothing to do with whatever happened to her. This is crazy." When Detective Chen mentioned the anonymous tip, Warner's demeanor changed entirely. He refused to answer further questions and demanded a lawyer. Background checks revealed that Warner had previously worked at another university in Wisconsin but had left abruptly mid-semester. No charges had ever been filed against him, but rumors of inappropriate behavior toward female students circulated among faculty who had worked with him. Despite the suspicion surrounding Warner, there was no concrete evidence linking him to Samantha's disappearance. His apartment was searched, but nothing incriminating was found. His computer showed no unusual activity on the night in question, and his cell phone records placed him at his apartment complex during the critical timeframe. The investigation continued, but leads grew cold. Samantha's case became a fixture on local news, then regional, then national. Her parents, Richard and Margaret Ridgway, moved temporarily to Ashton to stay close to the investigation. They established a scholarship in Samantha's name and maintained a constant presence on campus, distributing flyers and speaking to anyone who would listen. "Someone knows something," Margaret would say, her voice steady despite the dark circles under her eyes. "Someone saw something that night." Months passed. The case remained active but progress stalled. Todd Warner resigned from his position at the university and moved out of state. Detective Chen kept in regular contact with the Ridgways, but with each passing day, the chances of finding Samantha alive diminished. In April 2014, 6 months after Samantha's disappearance, a new development emerged. A freshman named Layla Jackson came forward with information. "I didn't think it was important before," she told Detective Chen, twisting her hands nervously in her lap. "But I was at the media lab the week before she disappeared. Todd and this other guy, I think he was from IT, they were talking about some project. Something about wireless access points and tracking user locations. Did you hear anything specific?" Chen pressed. "Todd said something like, you can see exactly where they are, where they're going. And the other guy said it was ethically questionable." Layla paused. "I thought they were talking about a research project or something. But now I'm not so sure." This led to a deeper investigation into the university's network infrastructure. The IT department confirmed that someone had installed unauthorized wireless access points at various locations around campus in the weeks leading up to Samantha's disappearance. These rogue access points could potentially intercept data from devices that connected to them, including location information. The IT specialist who had been seen with Todd was identified as Nelson Graff, a systems administrator who had since left the university. When questioned, Graff admitted to discussing theoretical security vulnerabilities with Todd but denied any involvement in actually exploiting them. Todd was always talking about privacy vulnerabilities, Graff told Detective Chen. He was obsessed with showing how easy it was to track people. But it was all theoretical, academic. I never thought he'd actually do it. The investigation continued to focus on Todd Warner, but without physical evidence linking him to Samantha's disappearance, the case remained at a standstill. Warner had moved to Oregon and maintained his innocence through his lawyer. Years passed. The Ridgways never gave up hope, but they returned to their home in Ohio, carrying their grief with them. Detective Chen was promoted and eventually assigned to other cases, though Samantha's file remained open on her desk, a constant reminder of unfinished business. Then, in 2017, a hiker discovered a partial femur in a wooded area 14 miles outside Ashton. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Samantha Ridgway. Alongside it was a scrap of yellow nylon fabric, consistent with her raincoat. The discovery reclassified Samantha's case as a homicide, but it raised as many questions as it answered. The remote location was not easily accessible without a vehicle. The remains showed no obvious signs of trauma, and without a complete skeleton, determining the cause of death was impossible. Detective Chen, now Lieutenant Chen, returned to the case with renewed determination. She re-interviewed key witnesses, including Kayla, who had graduated and moved to Chicago but remained haunted by her friend's disappearance. "I still have nightmares," Kayla confessed. "In them, I'm always looking for Sam in the rain. I always wake up before I find her." The investigation led Chen back to Todd Warner, now working for a tech company in Portland. When confronted with the new evidence, Warner maintained his innocence but appeared shaken. "I never hurt her," he insisted. I just wanted to show how vulnerable the system was. How easy it was to track people. It was supposed to be a demonstration, a wake-up call about privacy." "Did you follow Samantha that night?" Chen pressed. Warner looked away. "No. I could see where she was going. On my screen. I didn't physically follow her." It wasn't a confession, but it was the closest thing to an admission that he had been monitoring Samantha's movements. Still, it didn't explain what had happened to her after 9:52 p.m., or how her remains ended up in the woods miles from campus. In 2019, a potential break in the case emerged from an unexpected source. A man named Derek Slater, serving time for identity theft in a Wisconsin prison, claimed that Todd Warner had confessed to him during a period when they both lived in the same apartment complex in Oregon. "He was drunk one night," Slater told investigators. "Started talking about this girl from when he worked at some college. Said he'd been hacking into people's locations and knowing where girls walked. Said he'd set up these fake Wi-Fi spots to track them." When pressed for details about Samantha specifically, Slater's story became vague. He claimed Warner had confessed to knowing what happened to her, but denied directly harming her. The information was deemed unreliable. Slater had a history of lying for reduced sentences, and no charges were filed against Warner based on this testimony. The case went cold again until 2023, when a tech crime documentary series titled Digital Shadows featured Samantha's story in an episode called The Last Ping. The show brought renewed attention to the case and advanced a theory about how Samantha might have been tracked and ultimately targeted. The documentary consulted with cybersecurity experts who demonstrated how so-called honeypot Wi-Fi networks could be deployed to intercept data from unsuspecting users. They theorized that someone had set up these rogue networks along common walking routes at Westview University, specifically targeting young women walking alone at night. Viewers flooded tip lines with theories and potential leads. One IT expert even recreated what he believed was the method used to track Samantha, showing how her search, "Can someone track me through Wi-Fi?" indicated she might have realized she was being monitored. Lieutenant Chen followed up on every credible lead, but a decade after Samantha's disappearance, concrete evidence remained elusive. Todd Warner continued to deny any involvement beyond monitoring her location. Without a complete set of remains or a crime scene, proving how Samantha died or who was responsible seemed impossible. The Ridgways maintained a memorial Facebook page for their daughter, posting updates on the investigation and sharing memories on her birthday and the anniversary of her disappearance. The pinned post, updated every year, read, "She did everything right. She still vanished." On the 10th anniversary of Samantha's disappearance, Westview University unveiled a bench and plaque in her memory near the communications building. The ceremony was attended by her parents, former classmates, and Lieutenant Chen, whose determination to solve the case had never wavered. As Chen stood before the small gathering, she reflected on the decade-long investigation. "The traditional methods of investigation only took us so far in Samantha's case," she said. "What happened to her exposed vulnerabilities not just in campus security, but in our digital lives. Someone took advantage of those vulnerabilities that night. And while we haven't been able to bring them to justice yet, we haven't given up." After the ceremony, a young woman approached Chen. She introduced herself as Ellie, the former barista who had served Samantha on her last night. "I've always wondered," Ellie said hesitantly, "about the man in the cafe that night. The one with the newspaper. He came in often, always when Sam was there, but I never saw him any other time. Did you ever tell the police about this?" Chen asked, her interest piqued. "I tried, at the beginning. But everyone was so focused on that Todd guy, and I didn't have anything concrete to offer. Just a feeling." Chen took down Ellie's contact information and promised to follow up. It was a small lead, possibly irrelevant after all this time, but in a case that had haunted her for a decade, she would leave no stone unturned. That evening, as Chen reviewed the case files yet again, a new theory began to form. What if Todd Warner's digital stalking and Samantha's disappearance were connected but not in the way everyone had assumed? What if Warner's monitoring had inadvertently led someone else to her? Or what if Warner had shared his tracking methods with others? The yellow raincoat, so visible on that dark, rainy night. The search about being tracked through Wi-Fi. The rogue access points placed around campus. The change in direction toward the old theater instead of her dorm. The remains found miles from campus. Each piece was part of a puzzle that still didn't quite fit together. As technology evolved, so did the investigation. Chen consulted with a new generation of digital forensics experts who could analyze data that wasn't accessible a decade earlier. They discovered that several other female students had reported feeling followed or monitored in the weeks leading up to Samantha's disappearance, though none had filed formal complaints. Todd Warner remained the primary person of interest, but Chen couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, a connection not yet made, evidence not yet discovered. She kept returning to Samantha's last known moments, trying to understand what had happened between her final text and the discovery of her remains years later. In 2024, as Chen prepared to retire from the police force, she made a personal vow to continue working on Samantha's case. The mystery of what happened on that rainy October night remained unsolved, but Chen was determined that it would not be forgotten. Samantha Ridgway's story became more than just another cold case. It sparked conversations about digital privacy, campus safety, and the vulnerabilities we all face in an increasingly connected world. Universities across the country improved their security protocols and educated students about digital safety. Her parents continued their advocacy work, establishing a foundation in Samantha's name to promote awareness about digital stalking and to fund research into new technologies to protect potential victims. And somewhere, perhaps, someone still carried the truth of what happened that night, a truth that remained hidden in the shadows between the digital and physical worlds, waiting to be brought into the light.